In 1192, in a valley in what is now Switzerland, someone paid their rent, not in coins but in cheese. Wheels came out of an abbey cellar, went to a landlord, and a debt was settled. This was not charity. It was accounting. There is a comfortable version of this story. Monks couldn't eat meat, so they made cheese. Quiet men, simple food, devotion. But that isn't what happened. Monasteries were landowners. They held pasture, collected rent, and kept written accounts, and cheese was the most useful thing on the whole estate. Bellelay Abbey was founded in 1136. 56 years later, a document records its monks paying the annual cens, the ground rent on certain landholdings, with cheese made inside the abbey. Think about what that requires. For cheese to work as payment, it has to keep for months. It has to survive a journey. And everyone involved has to agree what one wheel is worth. Milk was worthless within a day. Cheese held its value. These places weren't simply running a kitchen. They were running a mint. 600 kilometers northwest, an abbey at Maroilles had been making a fresh cheese since the 7th century. They called it croquignon, and it was collected as tithe. Then, around the year 960, the Bishop of Cambrai gave an instruction: age it longer, not for flavor. A cheese that ages keeps. A cheese that keeps can travel. A cheese that travels can be sold. And the abbey sold its surplus into the towns. A bishop changed a recipe to increase revenue. That cheese is still made under the abbey's name. Maroilles. There is an ordinance from the same region called le cri des pâturages. It required the villages around the abbey to turn their milk into cheese on the 24th of June, the feast of St. John the Baptist, and hand the wheels to the abbey's agents on the 1st of October, roughly 100 days apart, a legally mandated aging period written into a medieval ordinance and upheld by a bishop's ruling in 1245. Not a recipe, a tax rule, and in the Vosges, it stops being subtle. Around 660, monks founded a monastery in the Fecht Valley, Monasterium. The monastery named the settlement. The settlement named the cheese, Munster. Its Lorraine name is Girolle, after Girolle, the town where rents on the high summer pastures were paid. Both of its names are accounting terms. And this is what shaped the cheese itself. Something that has to survive months in a cellar, gets washed, wiped down with brine, over and over for as long as it sits there. Salt water changes which organisms can live on the surface. The rind turns sticky, orange, and loud. Nobody doing this could see a bacterium. They judged by hand, by color, or by smell, and cut one open. The contradiction is the whole pleasure. The rind shouts, the center whispers. One last thing about Bellelay. The monks were driven out in 1797. The cheese survived in farmhouses, but barely. A local curiosity, awkward to serve, scraped off the top with a knife. Then, in 1981, a precision mechanic in a workshop in the Jura built a device that clamps the wheel on a spindle and shaves it into thin rosettes. His name was Nicolas Crevoisier. He called it the Girolle. By 1999, production had passed 1,500 tons, an 800-year-old cheese rescued by a gadget younger than most people watching this. And here is what I keep coming back to. Last time we watched alpine farmers hide milk from the man who came to measure it. These abbeys were the men who came to measure it. Same ledger, other side. The monks didn't invent European cheese, they made it worth stealing. If you want to find out how much you actually know about European cheese, there's a quiz at cheeseheaventv.com. Most people don't get half. Subscribe Cheese Heaven TV.